Hey Aries, these readings are for anyone who identifies as or is terribly interested in an Aries energy at this time. Maybe it's your sun sign, your moon sign, or maybe you're called and drawn to the sign or information on the sign for any other reason. It could be any sign in your chart, etc. Aries, we are doing 2 readings for you today. I'm going to do 2 readings for you now in an attempt to make up for the fact that I did not get a January reading out for you. So I hope 2019 is treating you well. I hope January treated you well. I hope the new lunar year, the year of the pig, is treating you well so far, Aries. And what we'll do is a more general reading first to let whatever messages want to come through. And then I'll do a second reading for you that is specifically about your love life. 2 of Wands is your first card out here. I'm trying to place these so that you might be able to see them all. I'm running into some issues with that. Let's back this up a little. Not that you can see it very well anyway, right? Looks like you are planning at present, Aries. '22 may be particularly significant to you at this time, Aries. And I should have said, normally when I do this, when I say one is about love and one is a more general reading, or one is about your career and one is about love, the messages just sort of mix up however they want to, almost to specifically say you can't put us into categories. But we will do 2 readings for you. The intention is for the second one to be about love, but I'm inserting this now because it looks like you're making plans around a significant loving bond in partnership at this time. That's what's coming through in the first reading. So they may both be about love for some of you. You're making plans around uniting 2 extremes. 2 showing up for me is a sign to have faith in whatever it is that you're making plans around at this time, whatever coupling is happening, whatever bond is forming. And again, yeah, just the number 22 may be particularly significant in its own special way for some of you. You have the 7 of Wands in reverse in your recent past. So I think some of you have recently found yourself lacking self-control and or self-confidence right now, Aries. I'm sorry, this is driving me nuts. Give me 1 second. I just want this to all be a little tighter. I'm defeated. Okay, here's the near future card. It's the King of Wands in reverse. So I see you currently shaping your own destiny, making plans, again, surrounding, regarding, very much intertwined with some partnership. Doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic partnership, but some uniting of opposites, a uniting of extremes, the way that a coupling would often unite a masculine and feminine energy, right? And yet you're coming from a place of having of lacking self-confidence, and in the near future it still looks like you're wanting for some courage. But you clearly, see success in this endeavor, motivating this planning that you're doing, right? You have an original vision for how this partnership is going to go. There's a bond of trust forming. A lot of times with the Two of Cups, I see the message that feel the energy really that love is understood when this card shows up. Now, and if it's a partnership forming around your business, some work area, a living situation, etc., it can be that whatever you and this partner that you're forming a bond with or signing a contract with have a mutual love of something that you're forming the partnership around. So if it's not, mutual love of each other, like a romantic partnership, then it's mutual love of that business, mutual love of that home, something like that. The situation that we're talking about for you stems from some ego drama that had to play out in the root of the situation in the more distant past, and I think that's what's left you without self-control and self-confidence. Some sort of ego drama left you doubting yourself, your beliefs about life, love, this business in particular that you're forming a partnership around. You differed from someone else. A lot of times with this type of ego drama, you simply were raised with different beliefs. You've had experiences probably in your youth that were moments that formed your beliefs, just the way that moments in childhood would, right? You were raised with different beliefs, or you've experienced things at a young age that have just made it so you and whomever you're at odds with just share different perspectives. And so it really made you doubt your own point of view, your own beliefs, because this other person or these other people that you like I said, this ego drama just had to play out. These other people that were involved in this with you, they weren't lying either. They were just coming from a different perspective. Likely they just had their own truth, and so that can lead to this moment of self-doubt, of again lacking confidence. Or self-control. There's this other message here where I see some of you were lacking. For those of you that this is a love reading, that it's not a business partnership, but it's a loving partnership. And it could be both. Like I said, maybe you have a mutual love for the business, so it feels like a loving partnership, yet it's about a business. But for those of you that's primarily romantic, you maybe had to fight for this person, and peace has been achieved in the root of the situation. You've won, you've come out on top. But because of the other suitors that you were sort of competing against, you still were lacking some confidence, and then maybe lacking self-control toward making things happen with this person, because like I said, you're creating your own destiny at this time. You're making plans. You feel like a commitment is forming. You're certainly faced with a commitment. You want to make sure that you're sharing your emotions wisely, right? You don't want to open up so much that you overwhelm the person or share too much too soon, right? When I see the Two of Cups, even upright, but certainly upright, there's a harmonious association happening. I think you're very excited to make these plans regarding this partnership, business or otherwise. Which is why it's kind of it's sort of throwing me off, I guess. Not really, but it's interesting, really, just that that there's a lack of self-control and a lack of courage on the table as well. It's a big deal. Whatever the partnership is, whatever the bond, the commitment, the partnership that is clearly forming, it's a big deal. Whether it's just with one other person that you're having a relationship with, or again, more likely for a lot of you, it has to do with your work life, having competed to be a partner in a company, having competed to work with a certain business partner of any sort. And especially if it is business related, there's a message here of like I said, wanting to be careful about getting so caught up in your love for the business that you share a little bit too much of yourself, your plans, your desires, your hopes, your dreams, the things that make you vulnerable in your business with this partner. Yes, there's trust. Yes, there's a bond. Yes, there's maybe a mutual love for the work that you two are doing. But it looks like you're going to realize in the near future that one of the reasons that you really needed this partner is because you're not really an entrepreneur. You're not really as extroverted as this other person. You're not really as bold, fearless, outspoken, or maybe I just mean to say experienced as this other person. That could be why there's some self-doubt, lack of confidence, lack of courage. And maybe you knew that. You knew that's why you were taking on a partner to help, but at the same time, realizing it can be different, right? You knew that, but then you can realize what that's like in real time if you make yourself too vulnerable by sharing too much and put yourself at a disadvantage. I don't know if there's a money split or if you both have different agendas ultimately. That's maybe something you don't know yet. And so again, we do want to be careful with sharing your emotions wisely. And that's also true for if it's a romantic situation. So you have 22 and you have 55. The outcome of the situation is great. It's a 6 of Pentacles and it's upright. And you have the Empress on the bottom of the deck. This is about creation. This is about birthing something into the world. So if it's a romantic partnership and you're not considering what the two of you can create and birth into the world, consider that they are, because that's what this is about. And maybe that some of the unspoken subtext between the two of you, that one or both of you is thinking about this relationship in terms of how it will lead to expanding your family. If it's a business partnership, then obviously the work, the business, the craft is why the partnership is forming, and what you're creating is the point here. It's and I think that's what the message wants to be about here. What is bigger than this petty ego drama? What is bigger than your personal negative cycles that are repeating, your personal issues that leave one or both of you in mourning? What's bigger than that is what this partnership is leading to creating in the world. It's just you can feel that your choices about your partnership and about your plans are, like I said, creating your destiny at this time. You can feel that it's bigger than other choices you've made. You can feel that you really have the power to utilize your free will to create this original vision. But it looks like you need help. You need help translating it. You need help putting it out into the world. You need help getting it noticed. But the potential that you hold is so powerful. So the choices and the plans are powerful. You know that. And the message is emphasizing that. It's like that's you know it for sure, and yet it's in your mind like it's a sneaking suspicion. Let yourself own that. No, you know that. It's not just a sneaking suspicion. It's not just a passing thought. It's not just a whisper in your ear. You know that. Your choices, who you engage in these partnerships with, who you share that original vision that I think you have in terms of your work, especially if this is about work. Who you share those things with right now is important. It is paramount that you share wisely. Don't let how much you love your craft, your business, your creation make you assume that the other person does too, just because they're reflecting it back to you. They may be equally invested in, you know, the work that y'all are doing, and they just may have different plans or different motivations. And okay, while the work is exciting, the creation is divine, and much bigger than the two of you. And I think that's what's led you here. That's what's led you here. And that's what's led you to the partnership. And that's what's led you here. You sense that this thing needs to be done. It needs to be created. It needs to be put out in the work. It's work that needs to be put out in the world. And you decided, even if you have to ask for help to get it done, it has to be done. And yet, there was some ego drama that had to be overcome. And we overcame that. And then you were still feeling like not completely confident or in control, doubting things. And yet, yeah, the creation is divine and the potential is powerful and you're really excited. And then in the near future, still, you're not feeling completely bold and fearless and courageous. Now, you have to ask yourself questions about this partner and this situation. Because if it's just something that you've never done before, if you've never collaborated before and you've never put this kind of work out into the world, that may be all it is. Like, of course you're having doubts then. And of course you're not feeling totally bold and courageous because you've never done it before and you're not sure how it's going to go. But I see that you're advised to notice that there is a negative cycle that is repeating. There's a negative cycle for one of these partners involved here that's not coming to an end with the Ten of Swords. It's a negative, painful cycle that's about to repeat. So, do you keep trying to work with this person and there just keeps being petty ego drama? And that's why we see it in the root of the situation? Because if so, the message is that's going to happen again. Do you keep trying to work with this person and they keep shooting your ideas down and that's what makes you feel like you're not confident or in control in any way? That's going to happen again. If you have no idea what the negative cycle is, if you're coming into this work just full of, again, power, potential, promise, excitement, enthusiasm, ready to make plans, don't be so lost in your head and even your actions with the plans that you miss the fact that they have something else going on that's going to affect this work. Because if you don't know what that negative cycle is that's going to continue, you're advised to notice that there is one. So if it's not you, and it's not yours, and it's not something between the two of you, then it's something that your partner in this situation, the person you're going to partner with to get this work out into the world, it's something that they have going on. I think for a lot of you, though, it is your own self-doubt. It is your own lack of self-confidence. And maybe in some way also lack of self-control. Sorry, ads. And the other piece of advice is the Five of Cups in reverse. Don't leave behind more than you lost. especially as a piece of advice, is what I hear when I see this. Some of you are not partnering with an actual person. You're partnering with like a platform. The way I would say, I partner with YouTube in order to be a content creator. Or people who sell online, they partner with eBay, they partner with Amazon, right? These are just the only examples I can think of. But some of you are more so partnering with a whole big company like that, or some kind of platform. And this message is saying the opposite of a good piece of advice that we often hear. We often hear that Albert Einstein quote that says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Well, like every good quote, it can still be checked with the fact that there are exceptions to every rule. This channel wouldn't exist if I hadn't done the same thing over and over and over and over and over again for a long time, each time truly expecting different results. I must have thought that I was going to start this every night for a year, and it was just always something. I mean, literally, like just about literally. First, I wanted to revamp all my keywords, and then it turned out I had to get a new internet set up at the house I was living in, and then turned out somebody else was moving into that house, so I had to move. And then by the time I got moved in and got a new job in my new town and everything all set up, then my computer shut down, completely crashed. So then I had to save up and get a new laptop so I could start, you know what I mean? So it took like a whole year from when I said, I'm going to start this channel before. I mean, it was frustrating at a certain point. I was like, is this ever going to happen? And finally, all the ducks were in a row and I started, but it was only because I just kept thinking I was going to do it, And yeah, we work with divine timing. So people in this community have that sense of, okay, well, it just must not be time yet. And that got me through a lot of it. But the fact of the matter is, there were many nights that I sat down thinking I'm about to do this, and it didn't happen, and it didn't happen, and it didn't happen. And over the course of a year, I just didn't let myself get discouraged, you know? So for those of you who are partnering with a platform or like a group of people, and it's not so much like a one-on-one partnership that we're talking about, it's just a different way of partnering with somebody or something so that you can get this creation out into the world. There is this message here of keep doing what you've been doing that hasn't been working. If it's that sense, if it's that feeling of like, I have something to say, I have something to create, I have a gift to share, I have, an art form to express, or just, something that needs, like I said, a divine energy that needs to be birthed into the world. I think a lot of what's happening for you is that you're not sure how to birth it into the world. You're not sure how to say what you want to say. You're not sure how to share the creation you want to share. You're not exactly sure. You feel like you have an expression of love from your heart that you want to share, but you feel like you're going to fumble through it. You're not learned enough at it. You're not practiced enough at it, but you have the inspiration. You have the fire. You have the passion. And you have a hold of this truth, and you are going to deliver, express, share it as honestly as you can. But yeah, you keep trying to get it out, some of you, and it seems like a painful negative cycle that just won't end, because this lack of self-confidence is just keeping you in this state of planning, like we see you now, where you're just planning, but you can't actually get the creation out there. Keep trying. Just keep trying, because sometimes doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results is not insanity. Sometimes it's just the process of spitting out what it is that you're trying to say, and maybe metaphorically, maybe, pushing out what it is that you mean to birth, whatever this creation, this work is. And in that case, you know, again, don't leave behind more than you lost. You still have made progress. You've still, if nothing else, you've tried 100 times and you've figured out 100 ways that it's not going to exactly work. You've tried 100 affirmations to improve your confidence, and you've checked off 100 ones that aren't going to get it done for you, right? If nothing else, you know, you have learned, you have made progress. You are more experienced at whatever this attempt of yours is specifically than someone who hasn't ever attempted it. Even if you've attempted it 100 times and failed 100 times, you have all that experience underneath of your belt now, no matter what it is. And we could get more specific with a personal reading, but that's, you know, how vague I kind of have to be for this. But whatever it is, you have all that experience now, if that's the case. What we see in the final outcome is the Six of Pentacles upright. Lovely. This is charity. It's knowing who you want to give to. You can see, you know, this wealthy individual sharing only so much of his wealth with those that, you know, seem to be in need. This can also be about only sharing so much of your energy with certain people. So many, you know, so much of your knowledge regarding this project with the partners you're working with. Like I said, we want to share wisely. But it's mainly about empathy for yourself and for others, and how that empathy nurtures your growth and others' growth.
When it comes to birth control, I armor up with next one up. The birth control that goes my own.
Wish there was a way to bypass those, to have this free music but not have those ads. It just is what it is. I'll stop complaining about it eventually. I think there's a real need. This is longer than I wanted it to be, but I think there's a real need with the lack of self-confidence and the lack of courage. I think there's a real need, no matter what type of partnership or who you're partnering with, for you to not cry over spilt milk, with the Five of Cups there in reverse as well. Such a cliche, but the point being that crying over the spilt milk, crying over the time lost where you've tried to create what you want to create and you're still left in the planning stage. You need to frame it as a gift. These plans needed time. This needed to take a long time to be planned. There's something that, you know, the name needs changed, or maybe the partner. We'll see. But change is also significant here, because you've got 22, have faith with 2s showing up, but also you have 55, 2 5s in reverse as well. So that's noting significant change. Have faith. There may be a significant change that needs to happen. So I don't know if that's the partner. I don't know if that's just within you, if that's something with the work, but likely it's something with the work. If it's taking so much longer to birth than you would have liked, than you would have expected, there's something, you're given this time to meticulously plan for your future, and you know how powerful these choices and these plans and this potential is. It's shaping your destiny, the rest of your life, and it's bigger than you. It's bigger than you and your partner. It's bigger than the partnership. It's bigger than your personal issues. It's something, you're right. The reason you're led to do it is because it is something that the world needs, the collective conscious needs. It's something that, you know, I kind of feel needy right now. Like, what aren't you giving me? What music can't I listen to that I need to hear? What book do I need to read that you haven't put out there yet? Like, I feel needy, like, as part of the collective, like, share it with us, you know? And if it takes time, it takes time. And if things need to significantly change, then so be it. But it's bigger than you. It's bigger than the other person. And you feel that. Like I said, it's not just a sneaking suspicion. Let yourself own that. Let yourself know that. And let that frame this negative cycle you may be repeating for you. If you keep telling yourself they're just letdowns, they're just failures, they're just mistakes, it's just wasted time is the feeling I'm getting. If you keep telling yourself it's wasted time and beating yourself up for wasting time when, you know, the plans don't go exactly as you'd hoped and you have to stay stuck in that planning stage, believe that there's a reason why. And if you keep beating yourself up for it, you know, that just is going to just deter you further. That's just going to be that much more of a detriment to your self-confidence and your courage, when really you can look at it as experience. we're going to get really quickly, this is already so long, we're going to really quickly get a clarification card on your outcome. But I know it's about you needing to have empathy for yourself, empathy for this process, empathy for the changes that the project itself needs to undergo, empathy for the weight that you're carrying. Like I said, you're working on something that's bigger than you. And it can be hard to get outside of our own issues and our own wants and needs and desires and mistakes and failures, you know, but it's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. And that doesn't, I don't mean to demean you and your experience and your life, but you are part of something, a project, you're working on something that it just simply is bigger than you. It's going to affect more people than just you and this partner or this entity that you are partnering with. It just is. And if it's a romantic partnership, and I know this sounds kind of strange, but if it's a romantic partnership, I think what I'm incidentally talking about is who the two of you are going to create and what they're going to do in their life. I know it's like a crazy, specific and large message, but again, have faith. I think we're seeing to have faith and be open within this partnership. I know I also told you to be wise about what you're sharing, but you know, at the very least, you want to have faith in the work and be open toward the work that needs done. I do think that there's someone in the situation, not necessarily the partner, but I do think there's someone in the situation who's being manipulative, who's not being completely forthright. Maybe it's you and you know why. But there's somebody involved in the situation in general that's not being completely forthright, that is being manipulative, and they will be caught. It will be shown. It will, will come to light. You will see that. But there's a strong message to have faith in what your goal is, what you're achieving, what you're headed toward, the balance that is coming in, where you are receiving as much as you're putting out. In terms of, the part of yourself, the tender part of yourself, your heart itself, that you're willing to share with the world in whatever this creation, whatever this expression is. You are going to receive enough back. And I don't think you are currently, okay with this balance. You see how much he's keeping for himself and just sharing a little. You're giving all of yourself to this project and maybe all of yourself to this partner. You're giving so much energy that, you're not reserving enough for yourself. And you have to have empathy first and foremost for yourself as an individual. It sounds almost like contradictory messages because I'm like, this is bigger than you. This is bigger than you. This is bigger than you. Take care of yourself first. But the reason you have to take care of yourself now and first and have empathy for the process, what the project needs and what you as the or a creator in this project needs, is precisely because the whole thing is bigger than you. And I don't know how else to, to walk you through that. I think that's pretty simple. You have to take care of yourself first. But you can, if it helps you, you can frame it as because you're doing it for everyone else. It helps me in this work, not to just talk about myself again, Aries, but I guess I missed you a little bit without doing the January readings. The thing is, for some of us, it helps. It literally helps me do basic self-care to keep in mind that my business is heart-centered. And if I don't take care of me, if I'm not in peak shape, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, peak shape, then what I'm offering you isn't really worthy of you. What I'm offering you isn't the most I can offer. If I want to channel, if I want to connect, if I want to feel ready to interpret at my best, I got a lot of work to do to take care of me. And if you just tell me to do that for myself, sometimes it's hard not to get lazy and not to forget this or that, not to prioritize him or her, right? But if I know I'm doing it because that's what makes me able to offer something worthy to viewers and clients, that's a whole nother ballgame. And it's however you need to frame it to help you, because ultimately this is rewarding work that is going to offer you back what you're putting in. And ultimately, for the 10th time, I do think that it's larger than you. And maybe there are some twin flame vibes here. I don't talk about that very often, but it's come up a handful of times in the last few months with 2-2 and 5-5. I mean, it's possible. And maybe that's, why there's a mix of, is this a business partnership or is it a romantic partnership? A lot of times you hear with the twin flame journeys that it's both, because you're helping each other to express in the world and to change the world and make a difference as well, right? If it's a romantic partnership where you're headed toward family and a marriage, I definitely see marriage in the outcome. If you're already talking about your family, I think what your child creates, what your child gets involved with as far as work in the world, is going to be way more significant than the two of you could dream right now. And I definitely see marriage in the outcome of the situation, a marriage where the two of you, I could almost cry. The two of you truly have empathy for yourselves, and so you know how to show empathy to each other. You know how to give, who to give to, and you know how much of your energy to give to the right person and how much you need to reserve for yourself. Yeah, so there's both. There's the business side of it, there's the romantic side of it, and then for some of you that are reading this as a twin flame or hearing this as a twin flame message, it can absolutely be both, sure. The overwhelming message, oh my gosh, it's really 37 minutes in, this is crazy. The overwhelming message, though, is there's not time to beat yourself up over spilt milk. There's not time to cry over spilt milk. There's not time to mourn. In fact, don't leave behind more than you lost. There's not time to be mad at yourself for repeating negative cycles. If it's a negative cycle that's getting you somewhere, then just frame it in a way that it doesn't hurt and keep trying. If it's a negative cycle that needs to end because it's stopping your progress, then just end it. There's this feeling of like the cards are kind of being almost brutally honest with you, because there's this feeling of like, there's not time for this. There's not time to be wasted. There's not time to do anything besides get a hold of the fact that this is bigger than you, that you're working on and with purposes that are larger than any one individual. And I left the King of Wands here because I'm still feeling him out a little bit. There may be, if there's so many different messages. Like I said, for a few of you, it may turn out that the significant change that needs to happen is who you're partnered with, and you will see that in the near future. For some of you, yeah, you're working with someone who's almost abusive. That's a big word. That's a strong word, but when somebody's even passive aggressive can be a form of abuse, right? When someone's mentally or emotionally manipulative, that's a form of abuse. And so for some of you, you're working with someone who I want to say it's likely verbal abuse. They're intolerant. They're sort of ruthless in the work they do. And they're supposed to be the one who has people skills for you, but they don't have people skills with you. They mean to be intolerant of anything that stops your progress, but then they end up bringing that vibe and that energy and that attitude toward working with you. And that can be why we're seeing the King of Wands in reverse in your near future. It can be your cowardice and inability to focus, and that's why you need the person. But it can also be that they're being intolerant. And maybe it's someone that you have fond memories with, and that they know. It could even be somebody from your past that you have fond memories with, and that they know what you all are trying to produce, and you know, they are honest about what needs done, but their manner is just making you question the partnership. So that's not for all of you, just for some of you that may be what needs changed. Yeah, since there's a significant change showing up in that reading as well. But after 40 minutes, we will leave it at that, Aries. That was twice as long as I meant it to be. I hope that that reading offered you some insight, and we will quickly move on to your love reading for mid-February 2019. I forgot to say before the first reading that although these are mid-month readings, yes, they may resonate with the entirety of the month of February for some of you, quite possibly. Since I didn't do a full month of February reading, they're all coming out. Well, I wanted to say on the 15th, but it's going to be the 16th before they're all uploaded. But since they're all coming out at mid-month, you know, time being fluid, for some of you it will resonate with the entirety of February, and for others these will just be about the second half. That was the Deviant Moon Tarot that we used for your general reading, and now I'm using the Radiant Rider Waite for your love reading. If you are watching this as a single, if you are independent, then the message is for those of you who are not enjoying your independence currently. You would like to be partnered, or you're just not enjoying your independence to the full extent. You're not showing gratitude for every little thing. I think this is about an affair, she says reluctantly. My first reaction is that this is about an affair. And it's like the reading is saying you're having an affair with someone who you know isn't honest. Well, no shit, Sherlock. If they're having an affair with you, and they've already told you outright in their actions that they're not honest, right? But that's the first thing I see here. May have been something that you rushed into quickly. You may not have realized it was an affair when it began. That happens. People lie. Certainly it's someone who doesn't want to be independent is what we're looking at. Someone who doesn't want to be independent. Some of you have taken I don't want to be independent all the way to you are, whether inadvertently, incidentally or not, engaging in some type of an affair with someone who you know isn't forthcoming, isn't honest, because, well, they're clearly not being honest with whomever they're having an affair on, right? For others of you, it's just a matter of, it's not necessarily an affair, but the reason you're engaging in the relationship, or you know, sort of dancing around the idea of engaging in the relationship, entertaining the idea, let's say, is because you don't want to be alone. So the motivation here is I don't want to be independent. Some of you are figuring that out. You're sitting in that feeling. You're going, why am I resisting independence? How do I change that? And that's beautiful. I commend you. I love it. I love that energy. Some of you, like I said, it wasn't even an intentional thing that you got involved in an affair to make yourself, you know, to give you a partner. They may have lied. You may not have known. And some of you, like I said, it's neither of those extremes. You're not sitting with your independence and finding out why you're resisting it, nor are you, you know, necessarily letting an affair continue, but you are letting a relationship continue, where again the reason is because you don't want to be independent. But in any case, it looks like it happened quickly. This is rooted in some expedited progress with the Eight of Wands here in the root of the situation. We're going to take both of these in the outcome. Woo. Okay. So with the King of Swords is what's crossing you here. This is a suspicious energy. It's an energy who's plotting. Right on top of my affair card. Someone who's harsh, someone who's rigid, someone who's cruel. They can be a cruel judge of likely their own character internally, whether they consciously note that or not, and then that's why they can be cruel judges of other people. It could just be a state that someone enters for a time, but it's feeling like a personality that's coming through here. And then we have the King and the Queen of Wands. King and the Queen of Fire in the near future and in the outcome. So I see some expedited progress in the root of the situation on something, on a project you were feeling passionate about. Probably involved communication of some type that happened quickly. So either this is representing you rushing into this relationship, or it's a progress you made on some other project you were feeling passionate about, and it left you feeling like success in this matter wasn't all it's cracked up to be, because you're left, you had expedited progress and there is success, but you're left enjoying that success alone. And so you're left saying, well, I don't want to be independent. Again, whether you're single or not, there's this resistance of independence here. If you are, engaging in a relationship with someone, again, and still success in the recent past, in attaining this relationship and getting this person, didn't really leave you as satisfied as you hoped it would. You kind of feel like you need to start over with someone new. Kind of feel like giving up before you really see what's going to happen. It's not really as rewarding. Because, I think your real honest reason for being a part of it is because you just don't want to be alone. So you got to question, okay, well, what aren't they bringing to the table? Meaning, what are they not sharing? What are they not being honest about? Because I'm sure you're not going to them and saying, like, well, I don't know about all this. I'm not even really sure if you're an honest person, but I just don't want to be alone. So let's keep doing this. I'm sure you're not saying that to them. So what aren't they saying? Because, you've got some feelings of this isn't really satisfying. Maybe I rushed into this. And you're not saying it to them, so what aren't they saying to you? There's sort of a storm brewing here with the Page of Swords in reversed, where that you may or may not see. Do you know that it's an affair, that they're having an affair on someone? Do you sense that? Do you feel that coming? Do you suspicion that? Do you get the feeling that they're sort of plotting, that they're sort of keeping something, like holding something back like you are? Are you just not asking because you don't know how to, and you're not ready to be completely honest with them either, because you don't want to be alone, but you don't want to say that, because you got to ask, you just need to ask yourself, well, if I'm not saying some things, then what aren't they saying? Because my question is there any chance that what they aren't telling you is that there's someone that they're cheating on who's going to haul off and hit you in the face one day. You know, I mean, I hate that that example keeps coming up for me. Like, that just came up in one of my pick a card things. But it's you know, I'm just going to, I don't hate it. I'm going to read what comes through, you know. That's, and it's not personal. That's not anything that's happened to me ever, and it's certainly not something that's happened to me or any of my close friends or family recently. So it's not coming up. It's, you know, it's not even something that's happened in a show that I have happened to have time to watch lately. It's not coming up because of anything in my personal life. It's coming up because it's coming up. So if you happen to watch whichever pick card it was that I just did, had to either be Navigating Your Shifts or Navigating Your Shifts Part 2. If you happen to watch that and you happened to choose the same, or to choose the reading that mentioned the same thing I am now, then I would say red flashing warning sign, definitely take a look into what I'm talking about. But yeah, for some of you, that's something that needs to be questioned. That the communication between the two of you is likely immature. If they're not being honest and you're not being honest, and this is all about either an affair or someone just not wanting to be on their own, or both, I see really those two energies coming together, then, you know, you may have to stumble through the communication. It may just not be mature. It may not be developed. It may not be, you don't really know how to be honest or what to say or what words to use, and you've never been in this situation and you don't really know this person that well, and, you know, it may be really rough, but maybe less rough than their other significant other, like I said, hauling off and hitting you or something, and you are completely blindsided. Like, how unfair if you can't even get a block up, you know what I mean? And I can see another person taking that out on the third party. What if you're the third party and you don't know it? I can see somebody else taking that out on someone, even though, you know, that person doesn't deserve that lashback, right? Like, if someone has lied to you and all you've done is fail to listen to your intuition, how is that your fault? But nonetheless, it could still shake out as you seeing the repercussions. So, in the near future, you have the Queen of Wands. Someone beautiful, someone vital, someone passionate, someone brave and courageous, just like the King of Wands. A fiery temperament, though, very intense, you know, not just passionate, but can be outright intense. Yes, beautiful and vital, but strong and commanding. In tune with nature and listening upright, listening to the signs all around her. So especially if you're a female dealing with a man who you think might be being so dishonest that there's someone else that was already in the picture before you, this could very well be that fiery temperament storming in who is, you know, the actual current partner of the person you're engaging with. It's possible. This could also be you. This could be an energy that you're embodying soon. But where I see her match in the final outcome of this, it's showing up alongside a loss to people who at best are alone together. And that's what I see for you if you decide to stay in this. That I can't help it. It's just the message coming through. I see if you decide to stay in this, if it has resonated and that's the case, I see a 3-party situation, a collaboration that nobody necessarily wants to be a part of, but they just find themselves in it. I see you likely ending up feeling like, especially if you're on the female side of this, especially if you're the feminine energy, okay? I see you feeling like you have to stand up and fight for your emperor. I feel like I see this ultimately coming to you remaining in a situation where you're just alone with someone They're not being honest and you're not being honest and you just don't want to be alone. So you're pretty much just alone together. You're in a third party situation and you're with someone else's king. You're with someone else's partner who may or may not make themselves known to you in the near future. And then I see you down the line feeling like you need to fight for, stand up for, defend your connection with this divine masculine. As the showing up here as the Queen of Swords in reverse, you will probably at that point start framing the past unrealistically, illogically, looking back at what happened between the two of you and what the two of you have been and what you've meant to each other and what he said to you and what's happened, what's transpired between the two of you, seeing all the good things and seeing all the connection and seeing, you know, that you two are really meant to be together. And truth be told, they might both be divine partnerships. Because it looks like you're a match for him here as well. Only, in this case, you two are both reversed. You're not being logical, he's not being honest. Being with a man who's not being honest with you can certainly lead to you being illogical, right? And yet, he has some really handsome qualities. Bold, fearless. Really in touch with nature, really in touch with nature in terms of being in touch with people, being really a social creature who seems like he can make magic happen. So enlightened and close to spirit, and yet likely having an affair on someone. Then you meet creatures like that. Like, wow, what a beautiful specimen, inside and out in every way, and oh, you will just never be faithful to anyone. Okay, well, that's your prerogative. But in my opinion, you know, just don't mentally and emotionally manipulate and abuse someone. That's fine if you don't want to ever be faithful to anybody, but let's be honest with everybody about that. So you're not this beautiful creature who is also sneakily abusive, right? And that's not attractive. Ultimately, I think, you know, you need to go within and just do some serious meditation. So like I said, someone is gonna... Well, no, I said that in the first reading, but in this reading as well, someone is going to get caught here. I don't mean to harp on this, but I only emphasize the message of make sure it's not you that ends up getting caught and getting hurt. How unfair if someone else's unjust action or abusive action even leads to you getting like physically reprimanded. Just because you're completely unaware of what's going on. That's the only reason I push that home, is because I just don't want to see anybody who's just completely unaware that they're even engaging in an affair end up getting the brunt from this passionate, intense, fiery, temperamental, bold, fearless energy coming in. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee energy coming in. She's gorgeous. And she has a right hook, you know? I mean, not always. Not always is the Queen of Wands abrasively temperamental, but it's certainly a quality that anyone who is harnessing intense passion at any given moment, you know, it also has stored within them at the same time. And so, you know, I think you have a mental connection with this person. You do have good conversations. You are in a similar frame of mind in the current moment, but that may be because neither of you feel like being totally honest. You feel like having a partner that you can be intimate with on a certain level, that you view the world the same way as, but not having to be honest about all of your own personal truths at the moment. And that may be part of what the mental connection is. Whereas this other person that they may be with, the reason that you may end up losing or staying, but just feeling like the two of you are just alone together, is because this other connection that it looks like they have is based on something physical and spiritual, physical and metaphysical, something very passionate, intense, something that it doesn't look like either of them are going to give up on. And that's not the question here. This is about you, and that shouldn't matter. But she probably, if this is turned into just being like about for like feminine, so I hope that you can turn it and change it for you if it applies, but you're the masculine. It's just that this reading is way longer than I thought it would be, and so I'm just going to go with how it's coming out. But likely this other person, this other partner, and it seems like a fiery feminine energy who they also are engaging with in some way. They likely know these truths about this king, this emperor, this potential divine masculine that you're engaging with as well. They likely, know about and excuse, forgive, overlook, look past, have found a way to contend with this tendency to be unfaithful of theirs. It's like this other person is already in for the long haul. They already know. They've already accepted that that's just part of his passionate personality. And I think that's another reason why I'm getting that message that I need to like warn you all. I don't want all my messages and all my readings to be just warnings, but what I'm sensing here is, this couple is like this. She's like, yeah, you're really intense and fiery and passionate, so you may run around on me. You may need more than just one woman to satisfy you. And I may pop off and punch her in the mouth if I see fit. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean to frame the King and Queen of Wands that way. There's so much beauty in this partnership, but in any reading, I'm not pegging these cards and these characters and these energies, but in any reading, you also look at the position they fall in, the other cards around them, literally the picture that takes shape, and I'm feeling what's coming through as well. And when I say or think even something that's true, my clairsenses will go off and let me know, like, yeah, that's true. And it really feels like that's the vibe they have going on. They not only do they understand and accept that the other one is incredibly intense and passionate, but they respect it. And it's part of who they are as individuals, and it's part of who they are as a partnership. So, again, this has gotten specific to people who are in this type of situation, but if you find that you're on the outside coming in to that, careful that you don't literally get yourself hurt. You're playing with emotional fire, but be careful you don't get yourself actually hurt. The advice is to share some truth with this person you are engaging with. And we've taken it all the way down to just talking about the affair, but some of you, like I said, some of you are just needing to have a conversation with yourself. Like, that you're resisting independence, and you need to ask yourself why. What am I not being honest about? Why can't I enjoy the present moment alone, independently? Some of you are engaging with someone, but it's like I said, you're not being honest because you just don't want to be on your own, but it's not necessarily that the two of you are having an affair behind someone else's back. And I didn't even look at it from the perspective of maybe you're having an affair on someone. Absolutely, it could be you that's having the affair. And same thing, in that case, same message. What is the other person not telling you? You're not being forthright. What aren't they telling you? And if you're the one having an affair on someone, and I don't think that that's a lot of you, but if you are, what aren't either people telling you? Right? They're not being, if you're not being honest, then the other person, maybe neither of the other parties are either, right? But I think there's this urge to have an honest conversation, even if you aren't sure how to share what needs shared, aren't really even sure. I'm getting the feeling of you can't find the words. You literally can't find the words. There's this message of, but a storm is brewing that you may not be able to see, and so you need to try to have the conversation even if it's immature and you have to muddle through and it's kind of painful. And there's this message, this advice of finding a way to enjoy the present moment, even in the outcome of the situation, whether you end up with this person or not, if you maintain it or not. There's, like I said, loss and a search for good vibes, and this to me is right now is advising you to enjoy the present moment. Be patient with your independence if you are just trying to figure a way to enjoy it and you don't want to be in the situation like what we're describing. You don't want to end up using someone or hurting someone else, you know. Be patient with trying to find that enjoyment of the present moment. Be patient with trying to find these good vibes. In the outcome of the situation, it's likely that they are right in front of you. You see the answer to their question and one of them's looking up at it, is right in front of them. And even though it's the Five of Pentacles as an earth suit, this card in particular gives you the message that you may want to look for it in a spiritual place. Not necessarily literally going to a church, or maybe that's your jam. Maybe that is where you want to be. But maybe it's, you know, just looking into your own spirituality, into what anchors you, into what, you know, start picking apart how you define the divine, or if you want to put definitions and label on it, what different levels you are, you know, what you think about interdimensional beings that you may be able to interact with, what gods and goddesses might you want to work with, or how do you think of them? You know, maybe there's just a key here in enjoying the present moment through delving into your own spirituality, whether it means entering a building that celebrates that spirituality or not, right? We're way past that, aren't we? But yeah, also patience is being advised, adapting to a form of independence outside of being with anyone else is coming through for some of you. Showing poise in this situation. And really, you know, weighing out your emotions versus your practicality. And I don't think that either of those things are important to you in terms of your romantic life right now. Well, okay, if you're just staying with someone so that you're not alone, then you feel like you're leaning toward valuing your own emotions. Like, this is what I need emotionally right now. I need to just not be alone. But ultimately, that isn't emotionally healthy for you. And no one needs to convince you of that. You can hear that as I say it. Ultimately, just choosing, you know, someone who serves as a band-aid isn't going to actually be emotionally fulfilling. You're going to find yourself, at best, alone together, searching for good vibes still. And I think with it, you know, again, I do think that this happened really quickly. I don't think that if there is someone else in the picture, I don't think that you even necessarily know. I don't think that this King of Wands and King of Queens, I don't think they're bad people. They're showing up in the upright. I don't think they're crazy. I don't think they're bad. I think they're just different than you, and you maybe jumped into a situation before you knew what you were getting into for a lot of you. But if you took the advice of the Temperance card and you thought, okay, well, how, what's important for my emotional state and what's important for my security and my safety and my practicality, then this picture would look entirely different. I don't think you would have anything to do with these people and this partnership and this situation if you really weighed that out, if you really looked at what would actually help you enjoy your present moment. And how you could combine what your independence needs practically to be maintained, financial independence, I mean, not even, your romantic independence, but your financial independence needs to be maintained. And then what your emotional world truly needs to feel connected, alive, accepted. Because you're not, an innocent bystander who is just an innocent bystander who is just sort of collateral in this is your financial independence. Because are you protecting that? This is just a passing thought, but could that potentially be what this dishonest energy who's in your life to keep you company while you're just not wanting to be lonely? Could that be their ulterior motive? Are they interested in this financial wealth and independence that you don't seem to be very focused on appreciating, let alone protecting? It's like I said, it's just, you're not really impressed with this success. You're not really satisfied with this financial independence. So if you're not appreciating it, are you remembering to protect it? You're just not enamored with your own independence in some way, shape, or form. So for those of you who are protecting it by staying out of these types of three-party situations or dishonest type of partnerships, great. You're just trying to find a way to enjoy the present moment. And again, I see you wanting to look toward your spiritual life. It's right in front of you. It's right in front of you. It's right in front of you. Allow the moment to change. One moment may feel really lonely and really unsatisfying. Allow the moment to change. I'm not even saying sit down and meditate for 20 minutes. 1 minute. Sit there for 1 minute and just breathe and allow the evening to change. Change the song that's on or put one on. Change the energy in the room. Change the lighting in the room. Change the sound, the music in the room. Allow a minute to pass just breathing. Allow the vibe to change. If you can't find any good vibes, if your friends are all coupled or don't live near you, etc., create good vibes. Get a good drink or, a smoke, whatever does it for you. This is just Kool-Aid. I just put it in a fancy glass to make my evening feel fancy. I mean, and put on some good music and or a show or, curl up with a book. Change the vibe yourself. Change it. And for some of you, that's advice for after you get out of this situation, if it is as dishonest or maybe three-party-ish as it seems. But yeah, there's this balance to be found here. Yes, you want to satisfy your emotional cravings, but if that's about not wanting to be alone, isn't there a way that you can learn to self-soothe, basically, is what you're getting at. And in any case, it cannot be practical for you to be so dissatisfied with your success and your wealth and your abundance and your financial independence that you forget to protect it. We all slip into moments of failing to completely appreciate our abundance and any type of financial independence we've secured for ourselves. It all grows it grows stale for all of us at some point. But the trick is not becoming so complacent about it that you fail to protect it. You still want it to be there when you turn around again and remember how much you appreciate it, right? So you don't want this shady, unjust, dishonest character who maybe, like I said, maybe currently you do have a significant mental connection. Maybe it feels divine, but you wouldn't want anyone who's being dishonest and, to take any of that wealth and any of that independence just because you're having a moment of forgetting to what it's worth to you, right? So this is so long, way too long. I guess I really did miss doing readings for you, Aries. I hope it helped. I hope it offered you some insight. An hour and 15 minutes in. Oh my goodness. If you would like a private reading from me, just check out the description down below. Thank you so much for letting me know how the reading resonated. If it did, I love to hear. Thank you also for liking and subscribing. I so appreciate it. And for all other contributions to Lunartics Tarot, welcome, Lunartics. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope that you all make wise choices for yourselves moving forward, Aries. I hope no one feels boxed in by any of the paths that we laid out here or insulted. The messages cannot be for everyone every time. I'm not even going to delve into this anymore. But no, don't be offended and don't feel like it's determined. You can always edit your own path. Free will is always at play. And again, the messages can't be for everyone every time. But I do love you, Aries. Thank you again. And I will post another tarot fix for you very soon.